So should we just take it away, or
Yeah, take it away.
well, yeah, I mean,
Take it away, word man.
it's pretty interesting. It's an exercise in forensic linguistics. It's the I think the classic case of using forensic linguistics to really look at it, and it's just it's so bizarre to if you put it in the context of the crime, okay? And let's just for a minute set aside our suspect of the family, okay? And let's just try to imagine this crime occurring from an intruder on the outside who would have written this note.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've established through evidence that the note was written with materials from inside the house, both the
Mm-hmm.
paper and the pen.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm correct about that. So with that, you know the intruder is not bringing the note from the outside, okay? How long do you think it would take you to craft a note like this? Maybe 15, 20 minutes?
20. I look at like this.
Yeah.
This just looks like it would take. There's so much thought to it. And
Yes.
there's just so much.
If an intruder wrote this with materials from inside the house that they would want you to believe, did he do it before the child was killed or after the child was killed? It was really only one of those two options that you could pick, correct?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a third option here. So I'm trying to imagine it beforehand. Okay, you're in the house, you haven't disturbed the child yet, obviously, so the child's still sleeping, and you're going to craft this long note for a half an hour, hoping no one wakes up the whole time. That's kind of far-fetched to me, but all right. What's even more far-fetched is to write it after the child's killed. And the whole kidnapping was botched. They killed the child, tried to stuff the body in the remote part of the house. And now he's going to sit down and not leave the scene of that crime and write this.
And
So
hang
you
and
take
hang
your
out.
pick. Which is more plausible? I don't know. So before we even get into the analyzing the words, I got to look at the bigger context and try to answer those questions. And I've never been able to answer that question satisfactorily. Nobody has.
The amount of information here, it's just too much. We don't need it.
Yeah,
We don't need
exactly.
it.
Well, take the first sentence. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. Now that's about where the validity of this ends for me after listen carefully. Because then he says, we are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. Now, I'm not an expert on ransom notes, but I don't think too many of them identify themselves in the second sentence. I mean, why? The point is remaining as anonymous as you can so you can get away with this.
Right.
We're a small foreign faction. And I love the use of the word faction. What does the word faction mean to you? I had to look it up in the dictionary. It means different things, but the way the dictionary defines it is, I pulled it up. Oh, well, it's a part of a larger group that maybe differs in belief with that bigger group.
So they're almost being
It's a misuse of the word.
right.
Really.
Yeah.
I think.
I like listen carefully when you're reading. You're not listening when you're reading.
Yeah. Well, that's the way people may talk, but yeah, I never really thought of it that way. That's a good point. But to the second sentence, to a small foreign faction, what does that even mean? And why would you want to identify even remotely who you are?
Right.
That's preposterous. So then you got to look at the next sentence then. And there's a strikeout. Now, when you have strikeouts, that's a red flag right there in writing. That tends to show something's amiss. And there's an even better strikeout coming up on page 2. But you can see what that word was. It looks like we don't. Like it looks like a D, O, and M to me. He wanted to say we don't respect. Then they changed it. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. Very, very odd thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
His business is, I think it was graphic design, and it serves the United States, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So why would a kidnapper even say that? What's the point?
Right.
What's the point? At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. Now they're finally getting to the point. That should have been the second sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her in 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. Okay. Then it gets interesting. You will withdraw $118,000, which happens to be roughly the bonus he got that year. Okay. So it's like someone has some inside knowledge of him here. Now, what, that's part of the first thing that I think was drawn to the family, and Patsy in particular. From your account, 100,000 will be in, they divide it up with $100 bills, $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. It's kind of odd to say, make sure you bring in, what does that sound like to you? Who would say something like, make sure you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank?
Like an attache, I think attache case, I think spies, I think like a spy movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking just the reminder to make sure that you do something to make something work. I don't mean to get all sexist here, but it sounds like something a woman might tell a male member of the household, maybe a son or a father. Make sure you do this. Make sure as you're leaving. That's what it strikes me as, that overall sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then when you get home, you put the money in the brown paper. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, to instruct you on delivery. That's interesting. Tomorrow. Isn't it already tomorrow when this crime happened?
Right.
So that's sort of strange. Okay. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. Another thing that reminds me of that sentence about the adequate size attaché. I kind of put those two sentences together as in the same odd category, If we monitor you getting, then here come the threats. If we monitor you getting, I advise you to be rested. Yeah. If we monitor you getting, that's so considerate. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence, now watch this, and earlier, strike out the word delivery and change it to pickup. So they've already written the word delivery in there. They're not going to deliver the daughter, but because they wrote delivery earlier in the sentence, they go to write delivery again. Not a lot of precision and thought going into this thing, and they had to strike it out, okay, to make it make sense. Any deviation from my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will be also deprived. Now, this is I think she's trying to say deprived, but it's I can't really read it. Derived, or you'll be deprived, I think, her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do, I think the word inserted there is not particularly like you. So I advise you not to provoke them. Another very odd thing for a legitimate kidnapper to say. That this whole thing is just, I'm reading this, trying to imagine a kidnapper actually writing this and thinking this is the hokiest thing I've ever seen. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. So they're kind of upping the ante in the violence. Now they're talking about beheadings. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert the bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if you are found, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us. And now he changes the pronouns changing from I to we here, and that's a sign that we talked about in forensic linguistics is odd. You're not consistent with the pronoun. Deceive us. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. Now, this is really interesting. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. Like these numbers were somehow analyzed and crunched,
No, that's a line from a movie.
What's that?
That's a line from a movie.
Which line?
You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us.
Really? Which movie?
I'm trying to think about it now, and I want to think if it's the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson and Gary Sinise.
I think you might be right, come to think of it. Interesting.
You
Okay.
stand a 100% chance of getting her back.
Now, this is the most interesting part of the letter, the closing. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. So the authorities are being watched as well.
Hmm.
Don't try, now listen to this. Don't try to grow a brain, John. Now he's John. Okay.
Hmm.
He hasn't been John this whole time. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult, which really makes no sense.
Right? Like,
He's
well, if
not
there's
the
so
only.
many of you, then what's the big deal?
Well, is that what the writer's trying to say? You're not the only fat cat around, so don't think the killing will be difficult. What does killing, the difficulty of killing their daughter, have to do with whether he's wealthy or not? I don't know.
Hmm.
Don't underestimate us, John. Second time using John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Third time using John in a very short period of time. Now, what does that sound like to you going back to the first John through the third John? Now, I'll give you my impression if you give me yours.
Okay, don't try to grow a brain, John. Uh,
Doesn't that,
that's a woman mad at a man.
thank you. Yes, a woman mad at her husband. Exactly, exactly. You know, it's funny.
Not to be sexist.
I ask my 18 to 22-year-old college students that all the time, and they have no idea, but they haven't been married. You know, this is a spouse talking to another spouse where the name
Absolutely.
gets emphasized and repeated, and
And
this is
belittling. It's the belittling. Don't
this is
try
the
and grow a
belittling,
brain.
right? John trying to grow a brain, exactly. The belittling, the use of the name. Um, this is why I think people got steered toward Patsy Ramsey as being the
Yeah.
author of this.
There's, I mean, I don't know. There's something about the, what's that? When we write, we don't write anymore. I'm like, what's the font? And I
I've
can't,
lost
our
my ability
penmanship,
to use a pen. I know.
right? Something about this. It looks like a woman wrote this.
Well, I think if I remember the evidence right, they took writing samples from all three people, and the son and the husband were eliminated, but she was inconclusive
Yeah.
in the writing.
You don't
Naturally.
say.
Yeah. So, looking at this, I feel that there's very strong circumstantial evidence that this note came from someone in the house, and somewhat circumstantial evidence that it was her that wrote it.
Hmm.
But now, whether that they were covering up a crime or whether they were involved in the crime, that's a whole nother set of evidence that you have to look at. You can't just, I think it's dangerous to say, okay, we know the note came from them. That circumstantially means, if that's true, that they had knowledge of what happened, but whether they actually killed the child or not, that's too much of a leap. You need to really look at the rest of the evidence in the case, I think. But
Don't try to grow that line. Just boy, is she pissed. Boy, is she
yeah.
pissed at him.
So yeah, whatever happened in that house, if I could speculate a little bit, that led to the daughter's death. He may have been sleeping the whole time, that she was trying to deal with the kids fighting, and there's
Yeah.
speculation that the son hit her over the head with a
Flashlight. Yeah.
flashlight. Whatever it is, she's angry. You
Yeah.
know,
She's pissed. She's
yeah,
pissed.
yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, that really does come through. And the switching of the pronouns and the movie line, that's an obvious movie line. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us, follow.
It's it's been
It's
years since
just
I saw that movie, but I think you're right. Yeah.
it's just too clever. It's too like
So
it's
anyway,
too
and generally speaking about the note in general, talk about level of detail and unnecessary stuff
yeah.
that a kidnapper, all they had to do was say, "We have your daughter,"
Hmm.
and wait for further instructions. That's all they had to really do.
Right.
But it's so much detail that it's like they're trying to paint the whole case for the investigators that they know are going to read this.
Well, staying on the scene on the theme of being sexist, I don't see a man being this detailed,
Yeah, that's another thing.
right?
Women can be far more detailed in writing, without a doubt. And yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, because we think more abstractly, like we're thinking every step. where men tend to compartmentalize and think of what's right in front of them in the moment.
And think about it. It starts out Mr. Ramsey, but at the end it's John, John, John,
Right,
So
right.
it's I just I have a lot of difficulty believing that this came from outside the house.
Yeah,
Or with,
definitely written by a woman, for sure. Oh, that's fascinating. This has just been so great. I don't know if you have any more time to go over the 4chan posts.
oh, not I am out of time, unfortunately.
Okay,
I
that's
have to get
okay.
another appointment, but we can do that another time without a doubt.
Oh, thank you so much. This was
Sure.
great. Do you want to talk about your fellowship?
Oh, yeah, sure. At Tiffin University, we have a new program that's of interest to students coming in. It's called our Cold Case Fellowship Program, and it's the first of its kind in the country that we know of. It's a program that allows students to, outside of their academic curriculum, actually investigate actual cold cases. Um,
Wow.
we accept up to 25 freshmen that qualify every year into it, and it takes about 10 hours a week of their time outside of their academics or what other extracurriculars they may have
Hmm.
to show up at the center and actually under supervision work cold cases that have been given to us by our law enforcement partners in the area. So, after 4 years of doing this, you can come away from with the college degree and with a certificate saying that you were part of a cold case fellowship the whole time, and maybe even, who knows, crack one of these cases. A
Yeah.
lot of
So,
them are old homicides, missing persons, that type of thing.
and this is for new freshmen or freshmen this year or freshmen. Will this happen with every like freshman class?
Every class, yeah, every fall class, we take in 25 more. We have a cold case camp over the summer that we offer for high school students. That camp is July 15th through the 18th, next 2024, next summer. And all they have to do to apply is go to our website at tiffin.edu, put the words cold case in the search engine on the first page, and you'll get details on the camp. And
Do you have a camp like that for adults?
well, it's intended
I'm
for high
only
school
half kidding.
students. Yeah. I'm sure we'll have a few apply. We did the camp last summer. We had a pretty good turnout, and we'll see what happens this year. But yeah, it's for, if you're considering coming to Tiffin University, you might want to attend the cold case camp. It's very affordable. It's a 4-day camp, and it's a lot of fun too. You'll work an actual cold case during that time.
That's amazing. Pete, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, anytime. It was my
And
pleasure.
and please like send me anything that you want me to put in the event description so that, any links or anything like that so that I can get the word out there for your program.
Okay.
Just amazing. I loved going over this letter with you. I loved going over the affidavit with you. Thank you for the tips that women can use to be a little bit more informed about who they should and shouldn't trust if they're dating on a dating app. This was great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. We'll see you later.
Have a great day.
All right.
Bye.